It's been 3 years since South Africa's top adventure racers had an expedition distance race to tackle. And in May 2011, Hermanus and the spectacular Overberg region of the Western Cape played host to the grueling 500-kilometre Expedition Africa. Adventure racing teams are made up of 4 members, of which at least one must be a lady. And the challenges are many and varied, with kayaking, mountain biking, hiking or trekking, orienteering and rope work in the mix. A successful team should contain a few specialists, but versatility and adaptability perhaps the most important aspects. A team's true strength, though, lies in the ability to work together through some of the most extreme physical and mental challenges with minimal sleep, whilst also trying to navigate the route, race their competitors and stay composed. It's non-stop and unsupported, and teams need to ensure they pack all food, equipment and clothing into 2 160-litre boxes. Starting in Hermanus, 2 orienteering stages, 3 hikes, 3 mountain bike stages and 2 kayaking sections make up the 500 kilometres. There's a compulsory 5-hour stop at the midway camp at Beloftebos before they head south again and finish at Onrus.
Okay, the teams have received their route tonight and they obviously started planning. And now they have to sort of work out firstly their logistics. Very important to what they have in their race boxes to get it at the right time. Because they misplan how they pack their food, it might play a role later. And then from the route point of view, especially a lot of novice teams here, is to take it easy, not to race too fast in the beginning. Because the challenge is to get all 4 members over the finish line. Okay, there's basically 2 legs in the middle, a 140-kilometer cycle and a 60-kilometer hike, which is probably the meat of the whole race. And I think that is where the winner will emerge. Although they still got halfway to go after that, and that's also where a lot of the people who won't finish the race will start losing members or even maybe a whole team. A little bit more technical navigation, but very mountainous, rugged terrain.
Here's a look now at 10 of the 22 4-person teams entered. For an event that could have them living in one another's pockets for up to 5 days, team dynamics are critical, and they'll all have to step away from their daily lives and jobs to ensure that the team performs to its maximum potential. A chilly wind whistled through the old harbour in Hermanus as the teams waited anxiously for the start.
Should be good fun. Good fun, a hard race, and the mountains look good fun. They look large. So yeah. Shame about the kayaking, so the sea's got flatter. It's been a bit wet and cold, but it's been fun.
I'm expecting a really tough race. I'm expecting some good times, but I think the night racing is going to be quite hectic and quite strenuous.
Green Warriors, we're going to do it. We're going to get funky with the mothership they call Green Warriors.
The orienteering leg of 14 kilometres would take them all around the town of Hermanus. All the way, they'll have to clip their cards at 11 checkpoints. This little trip up into the mountains before ending up at Grotto Beach. The tension was relieved at 7 a.m. and they were away. 88 athletes, 22 teams, each with different motivations for why they were here in the first place, but with one common goal: to finish Expedition Africa. In order to do that, each and every checkpoint had to be punched into their passports, and with maps in hand, the teams were soon searching. Team Cyanosis reaches a checkpoint, and behind them, it's Merrill Adventure Addicts reaching the top of Hooiskop. Then it was down again via the shortest possible route. Motlatsi Motlanyani of Team Do It Now magazine. Jeanette Bubbles-Walder, preschool teacher and a super strong athlete at Penny Pinchers AR. Aside from the physical challenge in the Expedition Africa, the race took the athletes through some of the most stunning trails. Nicholas Mulder of Team Cyanosis leading his team off the mountain. And then they were heading back to the beach. The wind that had awoken them in the morning was now battering them from in front over the last few Ks. The leading two teams were locked in a tussle at the front. It was a tough start. Merrill Adventure Addicts and Cyanosis finished together in 2 hours and 1 minute. Accelerate 14 minutes behind them. There was no stopping, and the teams are soon preparing for the first kayak leg to Stanford. Now let's check out the rest of the teams. Lawyers, doctors, scientists, farmers, teachers, engineers, housewives. They were all there, putting their physical and mental abilities to the ultimate test in Expedition Africa 2011. Back to the expedition, and the leaders were dragging their kayaks, supplied by the Kinetic Gear team, into the deep waters of the lagoon into which the Klein River drains at Hermanus. Behind them, Accelerate checking in, while further back, Jabberwock and Team Energy were reaching the end of the first trek. Team Accelerate are engineer David Spence, outdoor instructor Kim Collinson, scientist Andy Mitchell, and equine vet Caroline Bullard, and are veterans of numerous expeditions around the world. This would be their first taste of an African adventure race. The pedal leg took them away from Hermanus up the lagoon into the Klein River. A tough challenge made all the more difficult by the wind that had steadily increased in intensity.
We put in a huge amount of training, and it's just reaping the rewards that we needed to, having done 3 hours of about 1,000 coming up. The standard of catering has been pretty high. We had Mom's rasks, rolls with mayonnaise, Mrs. Ball's chutney, ham, chicken aromat, put on a few extra things like Smarties, text bar and a bar one, and it seems to all be working as a bit of a poiky course mixture. These guys stick this stuff in my bag for me to carry so they can drink it.
That's called teamwork, which is of course the essence of adventure racing. Things were soon getting pretty messy out on the lagoon.
The second leg was a paddle leg, and the Grotto Lagoon was absolutely being hammered by wind, a strong headwind, which brought the waves, with no exaggeration, probably slightly higher than your knees, breaking over into our bathtub-like boats. And it was just bitterly cold. The water was cold, the wind was cold, and just permanently having that water on you and just kind of going through those waves, as you do each stroke. By the end of it, we were absolutely freezing. I personally love racing with the boys. Those boys are my best friends, my teammates. In and out of racing, we'll do absolutely anything for each other, and you form a hell of a bond once you've experienced and journeyed something as big as this.
And those boys being Hanu Smith, Donovan Sims and Graham Bird, who along with Tatum Hobbit Prince make up a potent combination. Key to all this, feeding all the while. Nicholas Mulder of Team Cyanosis was thoroughly enjoying his time on the water. After all, if you don't enjoy it, then you shouldn't be doing it.
Adventure racing is a very tough sport. I mean, it's a non-stop race. Sleep deprivation is a serious factor. Trying to get 4 people to peak at the same time in a 500k race is very difficult. So to motivate the team, I think for us specifically, not talking about many other teams, but for us specifically, we work on small goals. We work as a team. We enjoy racing with each other. Everybody goes through lulls. Everybody has a tough time in the race. It's a fact. It's how the rest of your team deals with it and how they manage it. It's pretty pointless racing hard and one person's really struggling, because if you don't finish as a 4-person team, you're unofficial. So certainly for Cyanosis, the main thing is making sure that everybody is healthy. If somebody is taking strain, we need to make sure that we're looking after them. and we're going to try and reach the end as a four-person team. I mean, that's the ultimate goal. It's a team sport, effectively.
Up at the finish in Stanford, Merrill Adventure Addicts were putting the finishing touches to an excellent paddle. Graham Bird at the back with Tatum Hobbit Prince driving the boat. Nick Mulder and Cyanosis, they were 8 minutes back.
No, not yet. Yeah, I think.
Paddle was a good equivalent to a sea paddle. I think we had about 3 foot swell in 1 or 2 places, and it was choppy the whole way. And headwind, going very, very slowly.
And it got tougher and tougher as the day wore on. Team Jabberwock, Garen and Jenny Sutar and Ryan Hordian and Kobus van Sail. The paddle had taken its toll on them. Grateful to reach the bank. Behind them, Team Energy appeared to have enough of that commodity left to enjoy a laugh. For a moment anyway.
Yeah, there's no predictions until we get to the end, but we hear there's a coffee shop with really good cheesecake around the corner. So that's our next port of call, and then we'll go and tackle the beach and see what the night brings on the bike ride.
I think maybe I'm gonna have to eat this.
So what is that?
So this is some dried fruit, but it was at my feet during the paddle, and it's full of water, but I packed badly on the food front. This is the last food I have for the next 35 k's of running. So I'm thinking I might have to eat it.
Even if it is wet, it's great energy, Julia. For the leading teams having taken less than 3 hours for the paddles, some of the back markers were on the water for close on 4 hours. And of course, in the Expedition Africa, that's not the finish, it's the start of another race.
Yeah!
After 2 legs, Merrill Adventure Addicts had an 8-minute advantage over Cyanosis with Penny Pinchers over half an hour back. The Accelerate foursome would be pleased to be just 2 minutes behind them. The battle lines were drawn at Expedition Africa. The third leg, a 36-kilometre trek from Stanford to Gansbaai. Merrill had used the paddling strength of former SAK1 champion Graham Bird well. Nicholas Mulder is renowned as a feisty competitor and a great tactician in the Cyanosis camp. And Accelerate were just loving the cool, sunny conditions. There were 4 checkpoints on the trek which took them back towards the Indian Ocean, then a left turn onto the beach and a long grind along the sand before winding through the small fishing village of Gansbaai and finishing at the transition at the church hall. This section was divided into 2. The first of them, a 15-kilometre section of gravel or district road, relatively flat, but in a race of this nature, managing one's pace is critical, and teams were careful not to overdo it, particularly with a further 15 k's over the beach. Kobus van Sail of Team Jabberwock planning ahead. Penny Pinchers AR were equally prudent as they walked the short hills and jogged down. Team Jet had left Transition 2 some 2.5 hours after the leading team, but they appeared well focused on their task. The shadows were lengthening. With the beach in sight, Energy upped their tempo. While others had to make absolutely certain they were going in the right direction. Team Do It Now magazine slogging it out. Town planner Liesel Smith, chartered accountant Charles Keat and actuary Motlatsi Motlanyani were making steady progress. By the time they reached the beach, the wind had dropped and the tide was relatively low. With the third transition on the horizon, things were looking good. In the church hall at Gansbaai, Team Merrill were eagerly acquainting themselves with their mountain bikes for leg 3, a 140-kilometre monster into the night that would take them to Grashoek Farm near Bredasdorp. 13 minutes after Merrill had arrived, Cyanosis came through town. And not far behind them, Accelerate from the UK.
No, I think I only have one.
As the day drew to an end, the race was now about to enter a whole new phase. They'd set off at 7 a.m. and had now been on the run for well over 10 hours. And night was approaching quickly, so time was of the essence. Graham Tweetbird checks his watch. He's the captain of Merrill. Inside, Accelerate were nearly ready. Good quality headlamps and bike torches critical. Cyanosis Team 18 were ready to roll as well. And if they had a chance, they would have enjoyed a simply stunning sunset. That's the sharp end of the race. Further back, teams are feeling the pain.
Yeah, we are heading for T3, Transition 3, which we're going to get onto our bicycles, but I think we're going to have an hour decent rest because our legs are absolutely stuffed after the beach. The beach walk was hectic in the thick, very soft sand because the tide was coming in, so we were walking up in the soft sand, and I think anyone who's got ITBs are going to suffer. Or any other injury that was niggling is going to be now like over the top.
We're all starting to feel a little niggle, shattered. But no, we're here, man, and we. I guess everyone's wondering about the next thing, what's going to push us further, the cycle or the trek after the cycle. Some of us are thinking about the first drink in Cape Town in 5 days' time. But yeah, we'll get there, man. We'll get there. It's been tough though.
Merrill Adventure Addicts were the trailblazers. Donovan Sims, Tatum Prince, Hanu Smith and Tweetbird again checking his watch. But something wasn't right. They were out there alone, and soon enough, the realization that they'd gone wrong dawned on them. They'd taken a wrong turning, a costly mistake. They'd gone 6 k's down a hill in the wrong direction. A quick consultation and then back up the trail towards the control point they'd missed. This had the potential to change the race completely. Merrill were calm and composed. They lost their lead to Cyanosis and they saw Accelerate move into second place. Those teams were together. Sensing an opportunity, they worked hard to open a gap on Merrill. Stronger riders with tow ropes on hand to help a teammate struggling. Soft sand as they headed towards the control point at the lighthouse made for slow progress. In a race like this, choosing the right tyre tread is a tricky business because conditions change all the time. After finding the right checkpoint, Merrill were now back on track and also battling through the sand. On and off their bikes takes precious reserves of energy away. And after a long day, the thought of a whole night's racing itself was exhausting. Chris Fisher, Quinton Smith, Julia Thomas and Grant Ross of bikesandwines.com were going at a good pace. Meanwhile, Cyanosis and Accelerate, having inherited the lead from Merrill, who went off course, continued to put time into Merrill Adventure Addicts on the 140-kilometre ride.